think that judicial review wasn't mentioned in Article 3 of the Constitution.
We can look at our cards, right? Okay. Judicial review wasn't established until later on, and it hadn't been mentioned because it just ensured that the judicial branch has due process.
Judicial review may have not been in the Constitution itself in Article 3 because the framers of the Constitution may have still been a little bit on the edge of fearing a too strong national government or national power. Like, there were anti-federalists, there were federalists, and the anti-federalists feared a too strong national government. They favored the federal, like the state government, and federalists were fine with the way the Constitution was. So the establishment of judicial review abridged the Constitution in a way by giving the judicial branch more power to the courts and giving them more of a role in our society.
I agree with what Katie said about that. In some of the anti-federalist papers, as you said, it was mentioned that, just a train of thought. It was mentioned that judicial review, someone finish for me.
What I think Alexis is trying to get at is that judicial review itself is, I think, a way for the judges to study the Constitution, and they deal with the Constitution a lot, and that's their way of, that's our nation's way of basically keeping the Constitution in use and following it. If a law conflicts, like if a state law and a national law conflicts, judicial review can be used by the Supreme Court in order to the supremacy clause in the Constitution that states that if two laws conflict, state and national, the national law is supreme.
If the Constitution is based on we the people, why do we make it possible for 9 unelected judges to overrule decisions made by the Congress?
The judges aren't elected, but they are elected by the executive, who is the president. And those 9 people have to take oath and promise that they will uphold the Constitution. To roll over Congress, Congress is full of drama in basics, drama. And with Congress being rolled over by these judges, the laws that they pass, if America is unhappy with those laws, and if they conflict with the Constitution, the judicial branch can use judicial review to look at the Constitution and find if it is truly in the Constitution, right or wrong, and if it is applicable to the Constitution.
Okay. Can you identify any other current cases, with the exception of the possible Colorado case with marijuana? Can you identify any current cases that the court may hear that will be using judicial review?
the case of gay marriage is a huge issue right now, and I'm pretty sure that they'll definitely take that into perspective, because it needs to be handled, and it's going to affect the whole country when the court and if the court sees it or not.
Another case would be abortion, because you can go two ways with that. You can have pro-choice and pro-life. And if you go pro-choice, you're giving the woman the choice, but you're also taking away a life which would have had rights. And then when you're pro-life, you're giving them the life, but there's like the decision on what people think is right. And so there's the big discussion of whether that's constitutional or not.
Are there any questions out there, Alex?
With current and past decisions, can judges be biased by their own political views?
That is a really good question. They can be biased. Everyone is biased in their own way. But to kind of check themselves, there's a majority, like it has to be over half in the courts for a decision to be made. So that is kind of in its own way a check.
Okay, so that would be a place to stop. Okay, you ready?